They should genuinely call this Mystery Bag Con. We need to talk about this Anime Gaming Con. Before I get into anything, I just want to say this con left us with the most bittersweet, torn in half, brokenhearted, but also really happy and emotional feeling. And we're gonna get into why exactly that is in just a second. Anime League, or Anime Gaming Con. Are they big enough to warrant visiting from out of town? Today, we will find out for you and give you our star point review of the whole experience. Come with us. This con was held in the Novotel, London and Hammersmith, which is on the west side of London. To our surprise, this venue was actually massive, and it takes you down several floors into a bit of a gamer dungeon at the bottom level where there's plenty of dealers and artists and lots going on. So there's plenty of space in this con. Upon entering the venue, they do have a one-way system going on, which honestly, with the amount of attendees, worked really well to keep the flow of the con, spread out between the different rooms. But it was a little awkward entering the con, and before you get into any sort of big room or meeting space, we noticed that there was several voice actors tables just kind of sitting in the main lobby area. This didn't seem to be that much of a problem on Saturday, as we noticed there wasn't really that long of a line for the voice actors, but I can foresee that if these lines got really long, it would start kind of invading the space into the queue to get into the hall. So I don't think that was the best planned out area, but it didn't, nothing bad happened. It worked. It was fine. It was just strange. That's all. So the first area that we walked into upon entering the con was the main ground floor area, which had a stage, which was not the main stage, and a big kind of area for dealers. Overall, walking into the con, it was a great vibe, a great atmosphere. You could hear the music and you could hear the kind of MC host of whatever event they were having on the stage, which brought a really lively, fun atmosphere to the hall. Although, I can't lie, it was a little loud, and I feel really sorry for the artist that was standing right next to the stage all day, but we'll get into some more discussion around the artist tables later. So there was a various amount of dealers on this floor. It had ecstatic anime, which we've seen plenty of times, selling some mystery snack bags, which I thought was really interesting. And as we walked through the con, it was just a really busy, but really kind of fun and high energy atmosphere. The one complaint that I have about this floor is that the audience for the stage area overflowed into the traffic of the people walking around the dealers area, which made a tiny bottleneck for people to get through. And we found it really hard to walk our way through the con. I don't think that having a stage that close and having the seats that close to the stalls is the best use of space. I think you should always assume that things are going to fill up and overflow and account for the crowds that are going to, take up that space. So wasn't a huge fan of that, but having the stage in that area did give it a really nice atmosphere. As we finally got out of this squeezy bottleneck area of the dealer's hall, we made our way to the opposite side of the dealer's hall with even more dealers in this hall. I do have to say there was a few artists kind of sprinkled around, but the general vibe of the dealer's hall is slop. What do we mean by slop? By slop, we mean that these dealers are selling things that you can find on Temu or AliExpress or some other wholesaler website and buy them for yourself, or they're drop shipping. Or you can basically just find these online yourself at a much cheaper price point. Another form of slop, in our opinion, is anything that's 3D printed, really. Anything that is kind of plastic, low quality stuff that you can just find anywhere else yourself. A really big theme that we saw this year was the mystery bag craze. Oh my god, I have never seen a convention with so many mystery bag stalls. The problem with mystery bags is that what inside is generally not very good quality, generally not, you know, officially licensed merchandise, and generally might not even be anything that you actually enjoy. I have never seen mystery bags like I have at this con, and it made me feel a little bit disappointed because I'm sorry, but you're just getting ripped off. Now, we've seen online that not all mystery bag sellers are bad, which is probably true, but the vast majority of these mystery bag sellers are just trying to make a quick buck out of you. So, you know, spend responsibly, don't get pulled in by the gotcha. I know it's really hard, but it's better to use your money to spend on things that you actually want and that you know that you're getting something that you like, in my opinion. The amount of people I've seen with 3, 4, 5, 6 mystery bags walking out of here, like, I assure you, if you just spent that money on the items you actually wanted to buy, you could probably find them at the con. There is plenty of items to purchase here. There's plenty of crap, there's plenty of plastic t-shirts to buy. You don't need to buy a mystery bag and get one that you don't want. Just use your money and pay for the things that you actually want to buy. That's my opinion. We have to also mention the amount of possibly stolen and AI looking art at this con. It was really disappointing, especially when you're walking around the convention and you see an amazing artist sandwiched between 2 stalls that are selling absolute slop. It's really disappointing, and I think it would be extremely frustrating to be the artist, you know, stuck between these 2 stalls, and if it was me, basically. So we finally wandered out of the slop maze in the main dealer's hallway, and we found our way over to the next area, which was the video gaming area. After having a delightful beer in the actually really cozy and cute bar in this hotel, we made our way over to the video gaming area, which in my opinion was the cutest and most wholesome area of this entire convention. So the video gaming area had various consoles from various decades, various centuries, and it was really, really nice to see the parents and kids coming together and playing some of the, you know, more old-fashioned consoles and sharing these games with their kids. It was really, really cute to see some younger kids who might be, you know, 9, 10 years old playing on an NES or an original Xbox, or playing the games that people our age used to play when they were kids. Also in the video gaming area, you could see that there was various tournaments going on throughout the day, like Super Smash Bros, Mario Kart tournaments, etc. And it was really, really fun. You could just walk in and sign up and have a mini tournament on the day. It really made this area feel like it was a community and a really great way to meet new people and play games. Another great thing about the video game area I found was that there was plenty of spaces. You didn't find yourself, you know, waiting in line for a really long time for a spot to play a game. There was constantly people getting up and moving and switching games. There wasn't anybody really staying there for too long and hogging any particular, console. And it was just a really nice place to, you know, stop, sit down for a bit, play some games, rest your legs, because it is a long day on the legs, and, you know, just have some fun. Okay, so we're about halfway through our day so far, and so far we've seen the dealers area and the kind of gaming area. And as you can see, everyone's having a really great time, but we're really confused about this con so far. We have a little bit of concerns over some of the art quality and the vendor quality in the dealer area, but we also are really enjoying the general vibe of the con. Also, the gaming area brought back some interesting nostalgic memories. So, how will the rest of the con turn out? Come with us to find out! As we finished off in the video gaming area, we descended into the basement for Artist Alley. This is where the one-way system of the con continued, and our experience of Artist Alley got a little weird from there. Yep, it was weird, wasn't it? Yep, Artist Alley was laid out in the lower level basement of this convention in several small meeting rooms. Some of them were bigger than others, and while I feel like the convention did a really good job of forcing the one-way system so that you do have to go through all of these little rooms, I did feel really bad for some of the amazing artists that were put into these tiny little rooms that could only fit maybe 4 to 6 booths, and that were running really, really, really hot with the amount of people that were, walking through them. It was really refreshing to see, well done, handmade, not AI, not slop being sold in the Artist Alley, and it just made me wish that they put this on the main floor instead of the dealers. As we walked our way through Artist Alley, we saw a few familiar faces of artists that we recognize from previous conventions that we've been to. It's always great to see, artists popping up at several conventions throughout the year. While we were wandering through these meeting room, basement, artist alley setup full of rooms of various shapes and sizes, we couldn't help but feel like, first of all, it was the smallest artist alley that we've ever seen before. It was also the most cramped, space for the artists, and it would have been so easy to miss that there even was a basement to this con. The only reason that we saw that there was an artist alley was because we were looking through the map in the pamphlet that they gave us, and because there was a very small A4 sized piece of paper plastered right above the escalator to say artist alley this way. But I do have to say it was really poorly advertised that there even was an artist alley, which is saying a lot considering the slop was kind of the main attraction of this convention. To our surprise, after going down to the basement for the Artist Alley, there is actually another basement underneath this. So we descended to Dealer Hall number 2 and the main stage of Anime Gaming Con. So this Dealer Hall number 2 was full of slop. We did see a few really authentic sellers, which was great to see, but this hall mostly had more of the same slop that we saw on the top level, like plastic swords and mystery bags that you can buy anywhere else, like we mentioned before. What was hiding on this level, though, was some incredible artists, which was really heartbreaking to see because of the layout of this dealer hall. There was essentially dealers facing the chairs for the main stage, but also dealers on the opposite side facing the wall in a very dark, dingy, dim-lit area with not a lot of foot traffic. On this floor, you also had the main bar of the convention, which sold some snacks and some sandwiches, which we will talk about the food situation later, but there wasn't a whole lot available there. There was also only 2 staff members, which meant the line got really long for any sort of food. Once again, I want to say that the vibe of these halls was really kind of good and happy because the main stage was playing music or having presenters, doing bits or shows. It was really nice that this kind of translated through the hall. I just wish that Artist Alley kind of got that same treatment. So now that we've discussed the general layout of this con, I want to talk about why we feel like there's such a huge contrast between 2 different artists that we spoke to at the convention. Okay, so I have some thoughts now that we've come down to the allegedly second dealers area. We just had the nicest conversation with the sweetest artist, and as much as I'm enjoying the convention, I'm finding that there's a huge positive and negative side of this convention, and it's hard to vouch for the positives when we've seen how the negatives can affect the real artists who are traveling and trying to come here and trying to make a living off of selling their art at this convention. We had the sweetest conversation with an amazing artist who said she probably wouldn't come back next year. The quality of her art is absolutely insane. It's beautiful, beautiful art, and she's sat in this corner with barely any foot traffic, and she just said to us that she wasn't coming back because she didn't feel like it was worth it for us. So there's definitely some issues with the quality and possibly stolen / AI art at this convention, which is really upsetting because there are also some genuinely amazing artists who are here that you should definitely be supporting and not the not so good parts of the con. So hard to vouch for the con. We're having a really good time, and overall we're enjoying it. We can see so many positives, but also it's hard when you speak to the people that are affected by the negatives and seeing how much this is affecting their weekend. So my heart is torn. I don't know what to think. Ah! We also spoke to an artist who was in the main artist alley area, one floor up from this bottom dealer's hall. When we spoke to her, she was so sweet and so kind, and we just kind of got talking, and she was explaining to us that this was her first ever convention. She was so happy to be there, and she explained that she's been going to conventions as an attendee for the last few years, and this is the first time she ever, decided to go and table herself. She had some of the most beautiful original art. Her characters were gorgeous, and she was just so excited and happy to even have me follow her on Instagram. It really showed the complete contrast and the completely different experience that two artists are having at the same con. She also had a table that was in the main kind of footpath of the artist alley, so she just had, in general, a lot more people passing by her stall, and I think more of an opportunity to kind of get her name out there and get her art seen by other people than the person that was in the dealer's hall. So now that we've explained our experience of the con, it is time for the Star Point rating system. So here we have 5 categories, which we will score on a scale of 1 to 5 for a total of 25 points. Exhibitors and artist quality. We just want to make a disclaimer that this was the most difficult area to score. We saw so many artists and exhibitors that would score a 5 out of 5, and we saw a ton that would score a 1 out of 5. To show how torn we are with this score, we've decided to stick with a 2.5. I just want to say to the artists that were there, your stuff was amazing, and this is in no way critiquing the quality of the artists that were there. It's just that there was so much stolen and AI art that we just can't give it any much of a higher score than this. Next score is food. We have scored the food offerings a 1 out of 5, other than a cotton candy, popcorn, and slushy stall, some sandwiches provided by the hotel itself. There wasn't anything offered by the convention. We don't feel like they tried very hard to get any sort of independent food trucks or food vendors into the con, so we have to score this really low. Unfortunately, food was 1 out of 5. Busyness and crowd management. We've scored this a 3.5 out of 5. Generally, we really did think that the one-way system that they had in place was a good idea for the con, helped the crowds kind of navigate the convention and see everything. Earlier in the morning, it was really busy and really crowded, so we do have to kind of score this on the higher side for the busyness. But later in the afternoon, around 3 or 4 o'clock, the crowds really did start to die down, so it wasn't too bad. We scored this 3.5 out of 5. Location, transportation, and accessibility. So we were actually really pleasantly surprised with this venue. This Novotel London had plenty of space. If we are going to compare it to another con, I would say it's a similar size to MegaCon in London, but just spread out in a really different area. Transportation is easy. The con is a short walk from the tube station. Accessibility-wise, there are lifts that can take you to the various levels of basements, although there are a lot of really tight corners and, like small, skinny aisles to walk through. We did see a few people having, trouble navigating these, so just keep that in mind, but you will be able to access all the areas of the convention. Overall, we have scored the venue, location, transport, and accessibility a 3 out of 5. Final category is price. So we paid for general entry £27 for a day. Overall, I genuinely think £27 for a day out in London, and a full day out in London at that, is a really great price. The price to upgrade to early entry also wasn't that much more expensive. So overall, I do feel like London prices, this is an affordable day out for you and your family or your friends. This scores London Anime Gaming Con a 14 out of 25. If you've seen our previous video about MegaCon London, you will know that this also scored a 14, which puts them tied on our list. In order to show that we had more fun at London Anime and Gaming Con, we've decided to award this convention 2 bonus points, one for me and one for Mr. Cameraman. Despite the slop that was at this con, you could really feel the community vibe, and we felt like this convention had a lot more of an identity than other conventions that we've been to. Overall, we came away feeling kind of bittersweet from this con. You can tell that there's people who are having an amazing time, an amazing first convention, and you can tell that there's people who aren't coming back and didn't enjoy it. So I feel like this is a really interesting convention, and depending on what you like out of conventions, what you like buying, what you like, you know, participating in, then it could be a con for you or it could really not be a con for you. And hopefully we've given you some of the information for you to make that decision on your own. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe for more. Our next convention is coming up